Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our August 24th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. Our first order of business, will please stand and join me to do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Bob, agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move the agenda.
Second.
Got a first and a second for the agenda. Any remarks? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next we have planning and zoning. Staff here to go through the items on the agenda. Good morning, Scott and Mark.
Scott and Mark. Good morning. Morning.
Ready to go?
All right, Mr. Chair. The first item on the agenda is PC 24-21. The applicant is Custom Craft Homes, LLC. The request is a review and approval of the preliminary plat of Olson Addition, which is a replat of a portion of Johnson Montgomery Pleasant View Estates. There's no net increase in the number of residential lots being proposed. There are currently 10 there in the development, and there would be 10 residential lots if the proposed development is approved. Stormwater management to meet the MPCA requirements and standards is planned for the proposed development, and their stormwater plan has been reviewed by the City of Mankato staff for compliance with the regional stormwater MS4. The property is located in the northwest quarter of Section 22, South Bend Township. At the Planning Commission meeting, staff presented the report. The applicants were present and indicated that the easement for the 36-inch stormwater pipe has been recorded and developed. Board action is a resolution.
Okay, thank you, Scott. At this time, is the applicant present or on the phone? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on PC 2421? Please come to the podium and state your name and address. And if you're on the phone, please unmute your phone and make comments. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 2421 Custom Craft Home LLC? Anyone wishing to comment on Custom Craft Homes LLC PC 2421? See no public comment and hearing no public comment from the phone. I will close the public portion of the public hearing portion of this hearing and bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any questions or comments? Pretty straightforward. Good project. It's a good project.
Nice project.
Yeah, we've seen it several years ago. So, hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 2521 is a request by Blue Earth County for review and approval of amendments to the zoning chapter to clarify the county process for environmental assessment worksheets and environmental impact studies, or statements, excuse me. Staff did present the staff report to the Planning Commission. There was no public comment at the meeting. The chair of the Planning Commission asked if there was an appeal process for the affected party. The staff indicated that the request for a discretionary EAW would be presented to the Planning Commission and acted upon by the county board. If an appeal was desired, then that applicant could appeal to district court. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. One of the members stated that proposed amendment has the potential to slow down projects and add cost to the proposal. However, he supported the amendment and stated the environmental review is necessary. Another member concurred with the process that it may take longer, but it would be beneficial in the long run. Others indicated they had no questions or comments regarding the proposed amendments. Following discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval to of the amendment based on the findings prepared by staff, and the board action is the adoption of the ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mark. Applicant is present. Is there anyone wishing to comment on PC 2521 for the Blue Earth County? Please come to this podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes. And if you're calling in, please unmute your phone to comment. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 2521 for Blue Earth County? Last time, anyone wishing to comment on PC 2521? Hearing no public comment, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and bring it back to the county board for action.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? The comment there was one that I brought up. As much as we like to streamline things and make things easier for our constituents to get things done, this could slow the process down, but I think it is very beneficial as we run into so many water issues, water problems with properties 5, 10, 8 years down the road. So again, as much as I support trying to streamline things, I think this is a benefit to the community and our constituents.
Agreed.
Hearing no other comment, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Just one note on that, at the September 14th work session, we'll have a discussion on the fee schedule
Oh,
or
yeah,
structure
that's
for
right.
this as well. So
All right. Next item is PC 26-21. The applicant is Blue Earth County. It's a request for review and approval of amendments to Chapter 24 of the zoning chapter of the county code to clarify which zoning districts composting, recycling, and various solid waste management facilities are allowed, as well as to add definitions for exactly what the facilities are. At the Planning Commission meeting, staff presented the report. There's no public comment. The chair asked the Planning Commission for comments, and the members indicated that it's a good amendment and expressed no questions or concerns with the proposed amendment. Following discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the amendment based on the findings in the staff report. And as mentioned, there's currently not definitions for a lot of those solid waste management facilities, and they're not listed as a conditional use. So whether it's a recycling facility or a organics or separated organics recycling facility, compost facility, they're just not listed, and we've permitted them in the past as kind of an other use that's similar to the items in the agricultural district. So this just clarifies exactly where they're allowed and exactly what they are with definitions that are from state rules. The board action today is the adoption of the ordinance amendment.
Thank you,
Move
Scott.
approval.
I got to do a
Sorry.
public hearing.
Oh, for
That's all right.
public hearing.
That's all right. At this time, if the applicant is here, is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on PC 2621 for Blue Earth County? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes, and if you're calling in, please unmute your phone. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 2621 for Blue Earth County? And last time for anyone wishing to comment on PC 2621 Blue Earth County. Hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to County Board for action.
Move approval.
Thank
Second.
you, Colleen. I have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, PC 2721 is a request by Ronald and Lynn Lotus. The request is for review and approval of an interim use permit to allow cutting and filling in excess of 500 cubic yards of material as part of a ravine head repair project. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 30 Cambria Township. At the Planning Commission, staff presented the report. There was no public comment. The Planning Commission chair asked the Planning Commission for comments. The members commented on the aerial photos that the site told the story of the situation facing the applicants, that there's been severe erosion between the 2013 and 2019 photos. The members expressed no questions or concern. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation for approval of the request based on the findings prepared by staff and the conditions proposed, and the board action is the resolution.
Thank you, Mark. At this time, is the applicant on the phone or in the audience? Okay, anyone wishing to comment on PC 2721 for Ronald and Lynn Lodes, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to about 3 minutes, and anyone calling in, please unmute your phone and make your comments at this time. Anyone wishing to comment on PC 2721? And last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 2721 for Ronald and Lynn Lodes. Hearing and seeing no public comment, I'm bringing the item back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the PC 27-21.
Thank you.
Second.
Got a first and a second. If there's any discussion?
So exactly what would they be bringing in rock and stuff to fill that in that area that was taken out?
Mr. Commissioner, I hadn't worked on the staff report myself. George did, and he's on vacation this week, but my understanding is there'd be an assortment of fill there, and it's been engineered plans that were put together. What
I
isn't
mean, by
shown
the
on-
pictures, you can see that there's been quite a
Yep.
bit of erosion done. I was just wondering how they were going to do it, if they're going to, start with, large rocks and crushed rocks and...
Well, they'll put the fabric down first, I would imagine, and then some dirt fill, clay fill, rock.
Yep, that's what it indicates.
It's all different
here on
kinds of
the
different materials.
Engineering diagram that is just as you described there. They'll have the base in there, and then with the geotextile fabric, they'll also have some dual wall HDPE outlets, which would be the same tile that we utilize in our drainage projects, and then they would be end up putting in some elevation tiers there as well. So.
This should stop it from doing this again.
Well, that's the hope now that it's engineered. They did a similar project about 25 years ago, and that was meant to be about a 25-year project. And
Okay.
it's starting to fail now. Morgan Creek is just down the ravine from here, so it's important to try to maintain that sediment and those things.
All right, thank you.
Huge expense by the property owners, but
Oh,
they need to save their properties, but it also helps us with sediments getting washed down the river.
And they've been working on this project, my understanding is for a couple of years with the NRCS office and those things to get everything appropriate.
No, absolutely a great deal. It's just that I was just kind of concerned, wondering how they did it.
Yeah, and they'll be putting in a berm at the top of there to try to shed water from the
Tile it out. Any other questions or comments on PC 2721? I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too.
Have a great day.
Mr. Chair, we're running a little quicker than anticipated. Could we maybe do drainage quickly and
Sure.
allow a little more time for others to get on if need be?
Yep. And we got Craig here instead of Ryan. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning. Yeah,
Our sympathy with your mother.
well, thank you.
Yes.
So much.
Okay. Today is on the petition for impoundment for County Ditch 77. County Ditch 77 was first established in 1949 and consists of approximately 3,491 acres. The area impacted by this petition is in Section 28 of McPherson Township. On August 2nd, 2021, a petition was received for the possible impoundment, reroute, partial abandonment to portions of County Ditch 77. Drainage Authority attorney Cardita reviewed the documents and determined that the petition met the statutory requirements on Minnesota Statute 103E, Drainage Minnesota Statute 103.227 Subdivision 3A requires the Drainage Authority to appoint an engineer to investigate the effect of the proposed installation and to file a report of findings with the Drainage Authority. A complete engineer's report was part of the documentation provided as part of the petition, and the engineer is actually ready to move forward with a hearing. So, and at today's meeting of the Blue Earth County Drainage Authority, we are requesting the Drainage Authority accept the findings and order appointing Charles J. Brandel as the engineer for the wetland report. Because the engineer is ready for the hearing, we also requested the board approve the findings and order setting the hearing date for September 21st, 2021. So it'll be 2 findings and orders.
Okay. Well, let's address the first one to appoint Chuck Brandel from ISG for the engineer.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. And what date did we have picked for the hearing?
We had September 21st for the hearing.
Okay. Do we have a time?
At 9 a.m.
Okay. Do I have a motion for September 21st at 9 a.m. for
So
the
moved.
hearing?
Yep, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Have a good day.
Thanks, Craig.
Well, that was quick.
All right, are we spooled up and ready to go for the?
Yes,
Federal
Mr. Chair
Energy
and
Efficient?
Commissioners, we have, as you know, some good news regarding our proposal that was submitted for some congressional directed spending. And so we have Mr. John Neville and a number of others from McKinstry here this morning via Zoom to provide some additional information to the board.
Thank you, Bob. Well, welcome. I'm not sure how many we got on, but if you would like to give us your presentation and just introduce yourself before you start would be helpful on this end.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This morning, we, with the severe thunderstorm warning out, we decided to wimp out this morning and not visit the great city of Mankato, so our apologies.
That's totally understandable.
Yeah, so just if we could go to the next slide. Yeah, we have some good news to present, and we wanted to do this live in person, but not able to do so this morning. Are we
I'm
able
working
to
on
get to the next
it.
slide?
Sorry.
Could I just have you introduce yourself for the record? Unless I missed
Yeah,
it, I'm sorry.
No, that's our next slide is intro.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. If we can
There we
get
go.
There we go. So I'm on the upper left there. This is John Neville. I'm the regional director for McKinstry. Been in front of you folks prior.
Mhm.
And Lori, you want to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. This is Laura Mulwith. I'm our senior account executive here for Energy Solutions at McKinstry. And yes, apologies not to be there in person because last time it was just wonderful to see you all live and in person. But I hope that we will have other opportunities to see you soon.
So a couple other folks who are not available this morning. Eric Green is not available. Randy is also not available. But I believe we have Megan on the phone. Is that correct, Megan? Maybe on mute. Maybe not. Bob Long, are you on the phone?
am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, very good.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Bob Vaughn, and I'm a very proud St. Peter native who spent a lot of my time in Blue Earth County and in Mankato with all my older friends, most of whom are all living in Mankato these days. But I'm at the Larkin Hoffman Law Firm, and I'm one of the consultants to the McKinstry team on your project and also on our federal project. Megan can't join us. Megan is part of our law firm, and she's our federal lobbyist out in Washington, D.C., who's been helping with some of the contacts with the congressional delegation, primarily, of course, the two U.S. Senate offices, who've been both extremely helpful. And we're so excited to be working with you and have this good news to present.
Well, welcome to all of you, Bill.
Okay, and is Megan on yet? I don't see her listed here. Someone was on before, but I think she must have missed the connection. So if she joins, we'll bring her in with an introduction. Next slide, please. Laura, you want to run through the update here and a couple of things, please?
Yeah, so just very, very quickly, we saw this the last time we were with you, but just to ground ourselves in where we've been through our federal funding opportunities for the energy and water appropriations bill. We submitted our formal application on May 21st and were selected by both Senator Smith and Senator Klobuchar to move forward to the Appropriations Committee. And we just now recently are looking, we made it to that first step, which we gave our last update to you, and have now been moving forward into the second step, which your project, Blue Earth County's Energy Efficiency Project, has been selected by the Appropriations Committee. So it's very, very exciting. And John, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, so here's the formal document from the Appropriations Committee. You can see the actual document on the left, and then I highlighted Blue Earth Energy Efficiency Project. And again, this is the only project selected in the state of Minnesota for the energy area, for the Energy and Water Development Appropriations Bill.
Nice.
Oh, I see Megan is back on. Megan, you want to do a quick introduction as we're moving forward here? Yeah.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Apologize for that. Thanks so much for having me. Megan Knight with Larkin Huntsman. Appreciate the opportunity. Apologize, I'm not available via video. I'm actually driving back from Cross Lake on my way to the airport. So thanks so much for this time, and I'm really excited for Blue Earth County to receive this important next step in the process. And just really, I'm excited to do a victory lap with you all once we get this over the finish line. So thanks again for the time, and I'll let John continue with the process here, and I can pepper in any other details as needed.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Megan. Next slide, please. So, Laura, you want to run through, or Megan, maybe you want to run through oh, Megan, you can't see the slide.
Oh, no, I can.
Oh, you can? Oh, very good.
Yeah, I can see it. I really like this slide a lot. It really breaks it down. I think simplifies just how complex this can be. So, as you all know, successfully submitted and received approval from the senators, and then made it through that integral next step of getting the approval of the subcommittee, the Senate subcommittee. So what the next step now is, which can get a bit complicated because now we're just in a bit of a holding pattern. We made it through this step for the $4,330,000 congressional directed spending request. But as you know, similar to the legislature, we've got a conference with the House and the Senate subcommittee bills. There are 12 bills total for appropriations. And so far the House has marked up all 12 of theirs through subcommittees. The Senate's only marked up 3. And so we all know the fiscal year ends at the end of September. So what we're going to be waiting for is a continuing resolution to keep the government funded. And once that happens, these 12 appropriation bills. And my expectation is that we can expect them to be completed somewhere around mid-December. Your congressional directed spending request would go through that process. It would go through Department of Energy. They would kind of check and then send it directly to Blue Earth County, whether that's electronic or paper. I can get those details. You got to remember we're 10 years after this moratorium, and people are a little rusty with the details of how this is all going to work out. But right now, we can rest assured that we made it through this subcommittee markup. It's a huge step in the right direction. And I know, as John and Laura said, Blue Earth County is the only energy project in the state to receive funding. So huge accomplishment for this project.
Okay, and then the reality is we have basically one more slide. Next slide, please. So next steps. So some suggestions and recommendations, Megan and Bob, as far as how to proceed here.
Certainly, yeah. So this is a really important next step. As we know, we've got the only project in the state, so we want to make sure that both Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith kind of realize how appreciative we are. A little bit of more formal thank you letters from the board are encouraged, which I'm happy to draft up and send along once you all approve that. And then similarly, I know some of you had personal outreaches to the senators. I would definitely encourage that. Just a quick thank you. I have expressed our gratitude to the staff and senior staff, of course, when we found out the news that you all made it through the markup. And then we also are happy to draft a press release. I should have a draft for your approval this afternoon. If you'd like to send that out to follow the board meeting, and realizing that this is not a 100% done deal yet, right? We still have to go through the process of both the House and the Senate getting together, but it's a huge hurdle to overcome, and I think we would highlight that appropriately in the press release. And then finally, social media. If you all want to put anything out on your Facebook page or tweet something out, I definitely think it's time to share that news and be able to tout the project and where we're at right now.
So Yeah, so this is basically backup information. So at this point, the essence of this morning is we wanted to just get this information to the board and have Megan and Bob available on call here for any particular questions you have. So it's very good news. We're progressing down the path, and per those recommendations, if we can go back a slide, please. That's the way to proceed. So we're open for any questions or comments from the board at this point.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
At this point, is there any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Colleen.
This is Colleen Line Camera. I just want to thank you for all your work on this, and we will keep moving forward, and we'll certainly take your advice and do the things that you've requested.
Thank you, Colleen. Other comments?
Thank you, Doug.
Well, this is an exciting, part. It's, to have this size of funding coming from the federal government, possibility of, I shouldn't say it's here yet, but the possibility for our citizens and for the county, it's amazing. So thanks for all your work on this. Will we be able to see these slides, or do we have these slides? Okay, I'd like to have copies of these when we get done. So, but thank you so much for the work that you've done.
Absolutely. Appreciate your support. Yeah.
Our pleasure, thank you, yeah.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay. Anyone else have any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I just might add that we're certainly prepared to assist with the effort, so if Megan or anyone can get us some of those pieces drafted up of thank you letters or press releases, we will make sure that they get distributed.
Thank you, Bob.
Is there anything that us as a board can do to help this along?
Megan, Bob?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have lined everything up to this point where this is it. We made it through the process of influence. And so it really is, unfortunately, a bit of a waiting game at this point. I would say I did weigh in with Congresswoman McCollum's office just to let them know how excited we were that we were the only project to make it through. And with her position being a chairperson, a cardinal of the appropriation committee, she would have a little bit more leeway with the negotiation processes between the House and the Senate. However, I would like to share that both Chairwoman DeLauro from the House and Chairman Leahy from the Senate, the two chairs of the appropriation committees, expressed that they would not be tinkering with either body's congressional directed spending request, meaning that the House isn't going to come in and try to change any of the Senate, and the Senate isn't going to try to change any of the Houses. So there is no fear that because we're not in the House subcommittee that we would be stripped out. So that's something to really keep in mind, that getting it through the Senate process was one of the last steps before they're going to conference a bill and have it signed by the president. So beyond the thank yous and the little touches that I've done with staff, we're to the maximum of influence. Like we can't really do anything else. So.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And I might just add, I think, and this is Bob Wong, I think on that thank you note, there's sort of two categories. One, I think it says on the slide there, with the idea of having a formal letter from, you decide by the board chair, they have the entire board, thanking the senators for their good work in acknowledging this, and then maybe, obviously, some of you have individual relationships with them, so those individual notes, whether you send them by emails or text or letters, I think that's helpful. The other thing I would add, if there's any other, I'll say local stakeholders, constituency groups in Blue Earth County that would be excited about this, if there's local, just picking examples, like local conservation groups, or environmental groups, or other groups that you've interacted with that would be very supportive of what you're doing, I think for them, to maybe also be willing to send a letter of thanks and support would also be helpful. But I think it is really, just wonderful news that we're at this stage, and I think most important is keeping the senators apprised of how appreciative we are, so they stay on it. Because, yeah, the next big step is making sure that we get from this markup of the subcommittee now to the full appropriations committee, and with, I think the senators continuing to push it, we should not be hopefully having any problems, but it doesn't hurt to keep them aware of our appreciation, I guess, to put it that way. You know?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Colleen.
is there anything that we want to do with Representative McCollum? She's not listed up there, so I thought it was worth asking.
Megan, that's a great comment. I did reach out to her staff to let them know we made it through the markup process. I think if we went to Bill Harper or to the congressman,
You're breaking up, Megan.
There's final packages. Yeah, sorry. Well, is that a little bit better, or am I still choppy?
This is better.
That's better, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully with this infrastructure bill, we'll get some better broadband in northern Minnesota, right? But, I think I would say,
Let's not get off topic.
Commissioner, if you want to send a note to the Congresswoman, I'm happy to help you draft that, or just if you want to send a little personal note to let her know, I think that's an important point to make. She'll be one of the few in the room negotiating these larger bills.
Yeah. I'd be happy to send a personal note, but also another one too. If you want to draft something, that'd be good. Want to make sure we're saying the right things.
Happy to.
Thanks.
I'll make sure I get that done for you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your comments. Is there any closing remarks from anyone at this point?
Yes. So again, just wanted to appreciate being on the agenda this morning. And again, the emphasis was to highlight this, exciting news for the county. And we'll continue to do that in the next weeks, months, as things progress. We'll work with Bob and Josh and the team to keep everyone updated, and then our goal would be to update council at the same time of the board, assuming that's appropriate.
Well, thank you very much for all your hard work, and make sure you say hi to Randy from the county board.
Yeah, give Randy a hard time. This is the second time now that he hasn't come down and talked. He's kind of stiffed us, so give him a hard time.
Okay, I'm writing that note down right now.
All right, any other comments on this end in the boardroom? Okay, hearing none, again, thank you guys for your time. We appreciate all the efforts, and this is exciting news for Blue Earth County, and Vance can get his charging station so he can get to work on time. So
yeah, I got one of those EV cars now, so get those charging stations put up around the city.
All right.
Okay, very good.
Y'all have a good week. Megan, drive safe. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks all.
Bye.
Bye. All
Well,
right.
that was exciting.
Yeah.
That is.
Very good news for Blue Earth County. We might as well just move right on down to Human Services. Phil?
This is exciting too, Phil.
Yes.
I'm not going to let you know.
That's great.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, everyone.
I mean, I'm sure this is so exciting I don't even need another cup of coffee.
No, I'll promise to keep you awake, Commissioner. We'll see how that goes. I'll be brief.
I think we got lots of time.
Is that right? I do appreciate you hearing me today and representing our mission in human services. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have a couple of action items for your attention. The first of those being from Public Health, Minnesota Department of Health, Public Health Emergency Preparedness. So this is MDH funding human services in public health in order to increase our operational readiness for public health emergencies. This includes medical countermeasures, surge management, surveillance investigation, and information management, which are all really nice words, but then you look at the money and realize that we're not funded at a huge amount of money, but we are grateful for the money we receive. $47,073 is what it was, and it's going to $485, which is about a 3% increase. That equates to about 16 and a half hours of staff time each week, or 873 hours annually. The term of this grant is July 1st of 21 through June 30th of 22. And then my other action item, supportive housing, Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, with what we affectionately refer to as FHPAP, Family Homeless Prevention Assistance Projects. MVAC is the vendor who continues to receive and administer these funds for the 9-county region. The 9 counties are listed in the narrative to prevent homelessness or reestablish housing as quickly as possible. The next biennium of funding is what is named in this grant or agreement, but there is no direct funding amount, so it's just a coverage umbrella grant agreement. The term, October 1st of 21 through September 30th of 23, and those are my action items, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Phil.
Move approval of the action items.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for the action items. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. 3 different areas that I want to highlight to the board this morning. The first of those, adult foster care statistics, and these are from, through August of 21 of this year. This format we used prior to just give the board some sense of our performance and our footprint with regard to adult foster care first. We're serving developmentally disabled individuals, physical disabilities, brain injury, chemical dependency, mental illness, and the elderly are all possible recipients of the foster care. The first section is our greatest, biggest footprint, 106 corporate adult foster care homes in our county, capacity of 385 beds. And then the graphic shows the breakout, mostly represented in Mankato, but also Eagle Lake, Lake Crystal, and Pemberton, and then the bed breakout in each of those areas. A smaller group, but still very important, is family adult foster care, so families that take in foster care folks. There's 27 beds in our county. You'll see the pie graph, 22 of those are occupied, 5 are open at the time of this report. And then a more specific breakdown of where they come from. You'll see a lot of counties represented here in the box, and just that we serve a much larger catchment area than just our own county. The next graphic shows the trending up of the number of homes. I think Commissioner Landcamer might have asked me last board meeting just about foster care from the children's side. On the corporate side, we see a slight growth, which is great news. Really flat with regard to family foster care. I feel it is part of my job to always recruit for foster care, both on the adult side and the children's side. It's just a really big need, and the service these folks do for us, whether it be corporate staff that are hired by an entity or somebody that takes children or adults into their home, it's quite a mission, so we're dependent on it. It's a very good value for our mission. And then the same with the number of beds, a slight trending upward in corporate, and a very flat picture, a slight decline actually in family foster care. So are things that we keep an eye on year over year. Maybe I'll pause, Mr. Chair, just moving into adult protection, if there's any questions or comments on the adult foster care piece.
Questions or comments at this time?
I'm glad to see we still have some open capacity.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, and I know, Commissioner, last month when you asked, I was getting nervous because I in no way want to sound like we're flush or we're good, but we're hanging in there, and that is good news, especially through COVID. And the fact is, people retire, people have a change about what they're going to do. The staffing issues and some of the corporate care, we all know, are very tight now. And so we have some competition for interests at times, and yeah, I think we are hanging in there.
I don't recall, Mr. Chair, I don't recall. We have one from Des Moines, there was,
Yeah, and-
I mean, I don't recall one from outside.
Right, and I think it is a very unusual piece. I'm guessing it's a relocation commissioner. I could certainly check on it more, but my guess is it's somebody or a family member that might come and move to be closer to family. So those are usually the circumstances when they draw from outside. But it is an unusual occurrence. I wouldn't say that's in our catchment. Usually, yes, right down to Iowa.
Okay.
Just to move on to adult protection then, board was provided with this information that I'm going to go over, so I won't read it to you. You'll see in the tables, first the definitions of how many reports were screened, and then you'll see that sometimes we get more than one report on an incident, and so we don't duplicate that. So 333 reports, but there were 525 people that called in. Some of those were duplicated. The next table is about, of those screened, 78 were screened in, or 23 were screened in to be investigated. So this is in the graphics of how it breaks out. And then table 3, the different types of neglect or allegations, and I won't read those to you, but we'll look at it in the graph. And finally, table 4, the determinations, final result from how the breakouts go. If we do look at the graphics, they're probably a little easier to see, and there is a historical picture as well, which I think is helpful just to say how are we trending. In most of these areas it's fairly stable. The first table, you'll see just again the agency reports against the allegations. Fairly flat numbers, slight decrease, which it's hard to know. Sometimes you hear us say that we like people to report. Hard to know what to say about that, and sometimes you get nervous if there's not reports. But if that would at all mean that there's less abuse going on, that would be a good thing. Second table, agency response, and just the utility there is looking year over year at how those numbers look. Table 3, the breakout of the different types that I say too, and it's just a little easier to look at them this way. And you'll see the caregiver neglect and self-neglect always on the children's side too. Maltreatment always about the neglect is the most heavy incidents, and then a breakout in other things that are no less important or no less disturbing. So that's there, and then finally table 4 is just that breakout of how we made our decisions and what percentages that hit there. The numbers are, relatively low, so they can become skewed on a particular year, but it is a nice way to track what's going on, and I would say that we're in a kind of a usual or typical scenario here with adult protection. I also have a public health report from Kelly that I'd like to just read. If there's no other questions. Kelly just gave me some statistics. There's 3 different areas that I'm going to cover. The first, just the rates. And August 12th, we were at 85.73, which is per 100,000. I'll tell you about this formula. August 20th, we went from 85 to basically 158, so a significant spike. And then yesterday it was 177, so we continue to trend upward. Day over day, you can run the formula. There is some volatility. We will go up and down, but there's no doubt that the numbers are going up and are a concern, and we're in that high category now. The formula, if you're interested, is just 7 days of data divided by our population, 67,653, times 100, and that gives our case rate. So that's when we're talking about these rates. They're just basically saying per 100,000. The math just makes it so that we can figure it. If we had a county of 100,000, it gives us a stable indicator. So very much of a concern. The messaging that goes along with the data is that the vaccines are working. I certainly believe that. It is our best defense. We've talked about that here before, a strategy that I think we should all try to emphasize. Kelly did say if anybody has any questions, not just the board, but if anyone you talk to has any questions, they're free to call, and the public health number is 304-4117. So that's part of our mission and job, is to take those calls and try to answer questions or concerns, address those. As another example of the vaccine, with the Delta variant, the math on that is that one vaccine could prevent 6 encounters or 6 passing on of the virus. And so we recently did a clinic, MSU, 41 vaccinated, which would represent up to 246 cases that could happen if those students weren't vaccinated. So that to you, I'll just email it to you all so you have that. It's a good number. I mean, there's no doubt.
Mr. Chair, we've noted that it's over 97% in the
Over
65 plus.
Wow, that's
it's
amazing.
really high. Yeah.
Well, that's really helpful because obviously the folks over 65, myself included, are more susceptible to go into the hospital and have some serious issues. So it's nice to know that we're up to 97% on that part. It'd be nice if it was 18 and up or 16 and up.
Right.
Or 12.
Yes, isn't that right? Yeah, which is where we're going.
5-year-old
Right.
can go.
Yes.
And now that
obviously-
Pfizer has been FDA approved,
Right.
there's not a lot of excuses anymore.
I would agree. That is exactly what we're passionate about, is trying to get. An interesting statistic that Kelly gave me is the students in this clinic, I think it was a smaller sample, but 4 out of 5 of the folks that didn't get the shot were claiming that they've had the shot. Now, that's a big number too, and I don't know if I quite am going to just take hook, line, and sinker on that, but because students are self-reporting. But if that would also be true, that the college students are vaccinated at a high rate, that's another group that we're really targeting hard on. So of this group, a lot of them were at least claiming that they had the vaccine or were there to get the vaccine, which is a good thing.
Yep.
I did want to just share with the board a little bit about this third dose too. It's another important piece that's out there that's developing. So ours would be third dose of Moderna, the vaccine that we've primarily given out. We will look at our priority groups, to your comments, Commissioner, that we will go back down and look at the elderly population, the people that are medically involved, and go right down that priority group as we get this third vaccine and offer it. It will be after September 20th, just to let the board know the time frame when that starts. And at that time, if other doses are available through pharmacies or your primary health clinic, you can get your third dose anywhere, is the word. So just so that there's no confusion about that, we'll try to chase folks that we've given vaccine to and see if they have it and ask. But it's not that we want to preclude anyone from going to any vendor who would have the vaccine.
So the third dose would be the booster shot.
Correct.
And the reports I've read saying that they recommend you at least have your second shot 8 months before that.
And so I have to say I left that out of this comment because I don't know what the complications are, but how you count the 8 months, Commissioner, are now an issue. So they're trying to figure out exactly how to do that.
I mean,
Yes,
I
right.
know I can show you my verifications in my pocket when I had my second shot, but I'm sure a lot of people don't have that.
Exactly right. So I think that's, again, part of our job, is especially to try to track that back through. Much like our immunization registry, that's what we do, is try to track all those shots that kids get. So this is part of our responsibility. Go right down that priority group, much like how we saw the vaccine. Last piece is just about the hospital. We hear that too, of the hospitals being full, which I would say they're at high census. I don't know if they're always full, but there are a lot of reasons for that, COVID being one of those. But there's the trauma and the surge piece the surgical pieces that they tried to separate out and make it all COVID priority. So now there's a competition for beds, and so the census is up. A lot of the hospital beds have gone to single capacity rooms again. That cuts down the capacity. And then they have staffing issues as well. So just for talking points, that there's several issues that affect census in that way. Kelly gave a whole list of partners that we continue to work very closely with, and the danger there is leaving anyone out, but pharmacies, direct care providers, we're really leaning on each other hard, and that's a good part of the story.
Mr. Chair, going back to the college, now aren't they having a clinic up there?
Yes, so this 40
Mayo or-
Yes, this 40 vaccine, and Mayo's helping out as well, and MSU Health Services, so those are some of our primary partners. But I know they did do these 40 vaccines just in this last week's period of time. I don't know how many exact clinics that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, they found some students that need that and are willing to get it, so we're glad about that.
Well, and I also saw that Nicollet County's doing one in North Mankato with the J&J, so you only need one shot.
Right. Yep.
I was at the Lincoln Park party last week, and Hy-Vee was there, willing to give shots. Only 6 people took them, but I think everybody's really trying to get that.
And I have to say that just from my chair, like even that 4 here, 5 there, that's a win for us right now. As we're saying, we're going to add up every single person that's willing to get a shot. And it's because of that extrapolation that it might prevent other people from getting ill or exposed. So we're down to smaller numbers, and there's something kind of disheartening about that, but I'm deciding to look at it like, well, that's 4 more, and we'll just keep adding it up in bits and pieces.
Well, the nurse that was there said that she got her 4 neighbors to come, and they only came for the $100. Whatever it takes.
I know, isn't it true? Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that too, but again, if the shots are in the arm, that's the primary goal. I'm with you there too. Yeah. Thank you for your time. It's good to see all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Good report. Tell Kelly, thank you for all our hard work.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
Should we take a break?
Sure, we got plenty of time. Let's take a break till 10 after 10.
All right.
Okay. Hey, Mark? Oh, we're off, right, with the red light?
All right, we will get our meeting back in order here. Looks like we got some administrative, might be a couple.
Yeah.
Could be.
It is actually two projects. One is County Road 27, and then the other one is Victory Drive, or
Okay.
CSAT 82.
Next one is Mathwoods for $1,353,000. Projects, because I know they have a few working in the county also.
A small portion of that is on County Road 1, but the majority is County Road 27 again.
Okay. And then I had one from WW Blacktopping for $363,000. I'm thinking North Riverfront.
Yes, it is North Riverfront or County Road 57.
All right, and 14 there, the roundabout.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Mr. Chair, at the Airport Commission this morning, everybody talked about how much they like the Riverfront Drive,
57.
57, yep.
Yep.
Lots of happiness.
They were extremely, I got 3 vendors that bring parts out to me, and they were really getting tired of driving through town to bring
Yeah.
stuff out, so they were all extremely happy.
Well, and really like the way it's configured.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
easy to, it's easy
I haven't
to
been through
maneuver.
it yet.
Yeah, it's not, yep. Even for roundabout challenged people, it should be easier, yeah.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions on the bills? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 6 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. Just have informational items for the board today. First is promotion in our Property and Environmental Resources Department. At a Specialist 1 that was promoted to a Specialist 2 position. Item B indicates recruitment has been initiated to refill that position. That's not exactly accurate. We have decided to hold off a little bit on that for some other discussions we want to have with the board in an upcoming meeting. So that one was a little bit premature, but item number, or letter C is employment of a 911 dispatcher. And then we also had change of employment status for a jailer or correctional officer, moving from full-time to part-time at that employee's request. And so we've initiated recruitment to recruit for a correctional officer in a full-time position to replace that. So we appreciate all the corporate and individual gifts that have been given to the library. We also did receive a few donations to the sheriff's office, one being for our canine work, some for our dive team, and for AEDs that are used by our patrol folks.
Now, our canine officer, that they work mainly on drug enforcement, isn't it?
Well, we currently don't have a canine, so this is funds that are given for future potential purchase.
Okay, is that is being worked on though? through-
But not at this point, I don't believe. It's under discussion, but I don't believe there's any immediate plans to move ahead with that.
All right.
The last item I would point out is under veterans, the American Legion has provided a couple of donations, one from the Mankato Legion and one from Good Thunder, towards the purchase of a new van for the Veteran Service Office. So again, we appreciate all those donations. We'd also received some in-kind donations that are listed there, as well as volunteers that have given time to the library. So want to acknowledge those as well and bring it here for the board's acceptance.
Move acceptance?
You got a first, have a second?
Second.
You got a first and a second for the library donations. Is there any discussion? Very much appreciated and very well used money for the programs. If there's no other questions or comments, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Item number 8 in the packet is the financial status report for the end of July. You'll see that our Total revenues sit at a little over 72 million, with expenses a little over 59 million. So we, again, at this point in the year, are sitting in a very strong position. Obviously, some of the federal money that we received has contributed to that excess revenue over expenses. The things I would point out, I guess, are the fact that our local tax levy is running a little stronger than expected. So our first half collections were very strong. The transportation sales tax has rebounded really well compared to last year. You see it's up 11% over last year, and is going to far exceed what we had budgeted for 2021. So that is a very positive development. On the expense side of things are tending to run kind of right along with the budget. A slight excess in our public aid assistance, probably driven mostly by our detox costs and out-of-home placement costs, but relatively minor increase in the grand scheme of things. So overall, doing very well at this point in the year. I can tell the board that next month, I imagine our revenues will exceed our expenses by an even greater amount, because we did get $14 million last week from our turnback project. So that money will be in our coffers for a period of time while that work continues. So strong, healthy.
Until we have to
cash.
pay it back.
Till we have to pay the contractors.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's with a bunch of our road projects, that all the bills aren't in yet.
Right.
Right.
At the bottom of the page then is the enterprise fund, the Ponderosa landfill. You'll see the revenue is about 2.5 million, where expenses are 1.1 million. You know, when we don't have cells developed or machinery, this budget always looks very healthy, but that can go out very quickly when we start either purchasing large equipment or developing a further cell. The second page is our cash and investment balances. You'll see that our total available funds sit at 68.7 million compared to an expected 55.2 million. Our total county funds sit at 130,570,000. So again, we are sitting in a very strong position at this point in time. Be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions on the financial report?
Looks like the county is doing well.
Looks good. And I know we've said it before, but I appreciate this layout. This is just very easy to read, easy to understand. And it's just a good way to keep on top of what's going on. So thank you for that. Anything else on the agenda that I've missed, Bob?
That's all I had for you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, we will move into committee reports then. Mark, I'll start with you today.
Okay. That's pretty short. Really, just we had our work session on the 17th. A couple of times I was out of town on other business, so and the other one was the other day, August 18th, Minnesota Valley Council of Governments met in Lee Center. No, I forgot. Danny's, I don't know, restaurant on the east edge of town. Never been there before, but it was a good turnout and good reports from different the cities, and then we even had the arborist from Mankato talk about trees and having diversity in planting trees because of the what's happening with element stuff. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, check with them before you want to plant. Like, don't plant more maples or anything. You got to plant a wider variety, things like that. Anyway, it was a good report, or a good program, and yep. That, Mr. Chair, really concludes my
Farm
report.
breakfast. Farm breakfast.
Oh, excuse me, the farm breakfast, yes. I was there.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Mark.
That's right. Farm breakfast and, yeah.
Advance.
All right, well, after our last meeting, which was the 10th, I had a TZD meeting on the 11th. We had our airport breakfast, or EAA
You got
breakfast.
to that too,
on
Mark.
the-
Yeah, I missed
Mark
that
forgot
too.
all the
I
breakfasts.
think all
Guess
of
they
us
weren't
showed up.
committee.
No, I
All
didn't
of us
make it.
showed up
I
for
didn't
that
make it.
one. You didn't make that
No.
one?
Mm.
Let's see, we had
We
our
have former commissioners sitting with us too.
Yeah, he took my place.
Yeah,
there were
we had
four
Tom,
there.
Tom was sitting there with us. We had our work session on the 17th.
Leon?
Oh, I didn't see him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then I did a Zoom meeting by phone as I'm driving up to Two Harbors for the NACO Transportation Committee. They had a leadership kickoff call, and then myself and Colleen had 2 days of the AMC Board of Directors Strategic Planning up in Two Harbors, Minnesota, which was only like about 30-some miles from where the fire
fires.
is going on up there. So, and that was interesting because Commissioner Svay came out and told us they had a state of emergency when it was only 3,500 acres, and it's blowing up to, I think, over 10,000 acres now. So, pretty serious stuff. They could use the rain. And on Friday, I had my NACO RAC leadership call, the Rural Action Caucus leadership call. Breakfast on the farm was on Sunday, or Saturday,
Saturday, yeah.
over at the Dowd Farm. That was very nice. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you, Vance. Colleen?
After the board meeting on the 10th, I had a call with Congressman Emmer about what's going on in Congress. So that was interesting. On the 11th, I had the Region 9 board. Just a couple issues from that board meeting. They have the opportunity to defederalize federal funds, which is revolving loan funds, and they won't have to follow all the rules and regulations that have been in place for those revolving loan funds. So it'll be a little simpler and easier for people to get those loans. Also, we passed a resolution that there are some people who've been there a long time who are going to be retiring. So we're going to do the para-phased retirement, which is a helpful thing. On the 12th, Kip and I had InterGov. We talked about housing, their recruiting for housing, what the tax capacity is, and the possibility of a roundabout at Bassett, and about redistricting. And the 14th, I went to the Lincoln Park celebration, which was nice, not real well attended, but they were giving shots there, as I indicated earlier. I was at the airport breakfast too. There were over 1,000 people there.
It's amazing.
We had the work session, as Vance said, we had strategic plan. On Friday, I had State Community Health Advisory Committee. I'm going to send you the slides that the commissioner talked about. So it's kind of helpful to see that. Also, I heard it started out with science is not the truth. Science is finding the truth. When science changes its opinion, it didn't lie to you. It just learned more. I think that's kind of a nice slide that I think gets lost. And some of the legislative investments to help with tribes and some public health came out of the legislature. You know, a lot of it is competitive, so that's always kind of challenging for some counties. But I'll send you all that stuff. The other thing is, I was at breakfast at the farm. I must have been later. I took my granddaughter. She doesn't get up till after 9 in the morning, you know? And she loved it. She liked petting the animals, but I think what she liked best was the tree houses they had, which really weren't part of the event, but she was hanging out. They had 2 tree houses. She loved that. But it was a great time and good turnout. They had over 1,500 people. yesterday at Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs from NACO. We talked about the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, what's in that at this point, COVID response across the nation, and then our American Rescue Plan interim report is due August 31st, but they still haven't finalized the rules, so stay tuned. And then this morning I had Airport Commission, and there were some questions about, and I'll share this with Ryan, but I thought I'd share it with you too, about when we do the road in front of the airport. Are there going to be turn lanes into the airport? They're hoping there will be street lights at the entrance, because you really don't see the entrance, and a left turn into the airport coming from the north. That it's sometimes challenging.
I would think
I thought it was a 3-lane, but
that there'll be
I
a
could be wrong.
3-lane, so that the middle lane will be a turn.
a turn lane. I thought that's what we talked.
According to Jeff Johnson, who was there from the city, that the topography makes it a little challenging.
Okay.
They're thinking of using the shoulder to a certain extent as a third lane if needed, but not all the time. That's what Jeff Johnson said this morning anyway.
Yeah.
Also, Airport Deed has some grants for business development at the airport. And so businesses, if they're interested in that, can apply to Deed. Kind of interesting. I hadn't heard that one before. MSU classes started yesterday, 110 new students, 450 flight students, and they're only doing face-to-face, that's it. So that's why their numbers are less than they expected. One open hangar out there, only one. And then GMG talked about the MSA. We're at 103,566 in our MSA, 103,566. But, because then my question was, okay, if we're over 100 and they change the rules in 2030, we're still eligible. But they only count the core cities.
Yeah.
And that would be Mankato, North Mankato, and Eagle Lake. Eagle Lake's up 35%. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And that's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you, Colleen.
That's amazing.
Several of the things have been mentioned already that I was at, but I did have our MICA meeting after the board meeting, and it was a relatively short meeting. They were just kind of briefing us quickly on the wrap-up stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of new stuff to report. Colleen talked about InterGov, getting a couple things spooled up there. Had my MVAC Personnel Committee meeting, just a lot of Head Start stuff, some grants still coming in, a little discussion there about just some other workforce issues. And then the work session was already mentioned, and breakfast on the farm, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, I've heard they've had as high as 2,000 people at that before. So Delks always do a nice job out there with that. Out there. So that is the end of my report. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to recess.
I move we recess.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are recessed. Thank you, everybody, for your time.